Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Online Tonight Entertainment Podcast. My name is Matthew Willard. With me tonight is Ryan Toronas.
Hi.
Nathan Dean.
Whoa.
And Kaley Weldon.
Woo.
Howdy.
Today we're going to be discussing Detective Pikachu, Game of Thrones, and maybe some movie details that have just been released. This includes all spoilers for Detective Pikachu, Game of Thrones, and we're going to be talking in full about Game of Thrones as well, the complete series. The series just ended last Sunday, and we're just going to dive right into it. So, you have been warned.
Leave now.
Get out of here.
That should be enough time. All right, so I think we're going to start off with Detective Pikachu first. Get this interesting movie out of the way. Detective Pikachu was pretty damn good, if I say so myself. What are you guys' thoughts on it, Ryan?
Before we get into exactly, well, okay, never mind. I'll start. My thoughts. From someone who doesn't watch a lot or know. I mean, I know stuff about Pokemon, but I don't watch the show. I grew up a little bit on the show. I didn't really play. I played like some of the early games. That was about it. I haven't been in Pokemon for a long time. But still, I was able to enjoy it, and I understood it fully. I wasn't confused a lot. It was fun. It was enjoyable, and I love Psyduck.
Psyduck is fantastic in that movie.
I mean, going off of what Ryan said, I personally grew up with Pokemon all through my childhood. Loved everything about it. Jigglypuff has always been my favorite Pokemon, and I loved that she was in this film.
Underappreciated.
But was not really. That was probably the most disappointing part. Is literally the scene that's in the trailer. That's the only part. The mime scene was a little extended, and I loved it.
I loved
the Mr. Mime scene in this movie. Psyduck had a much bigger role in this movie than I thought he was going to have. Because, I mean, he was, to me, just based off of what he was able to do, he was way more than a side character in this movie.
I mean, he was the lead in my eyes. We saw the story through his eyes.
I mean, without Psyduck, literally everybody would have died. But,
you think the Greninjas would have killed him?
Oh, of course not. He has his little mind thing where he freaks out and blows up.
No, I'm saying, do you think the Greninjas would have killed him?
Would have killed Psyduck?
No.
Well, he would have just exploded.
Everyone without Psyduck.
Yeah, everyone without Psyduck exploding.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I felt about the way that the way they took the movie with.
Now, before we get there,
you said,
Kaley, you haven't seen the movie. Tell us the plot of the movie.
All right, so let me tell you everything right quick. Now, I grew up, Pokemon 1, Gen 1, 2, and 3, barely. Nathan knows a lot more about that than I do. But have not seen the movie. Will see the movie with you lovely people.
So you don't care about spoilers? That's
no, I don't care about spoilers.
So tell us what happened. What happens in the movie?
Tell us what you think happens in the movie?
Oh, man, I have...
Because there's a twist.
What's the big plot twist at the end?
There's a twist.
I have no idea. I only saw so many commercials before I knew I'd just see it. I want to see... Something's going to happen. Obviously, some people are going to explode without Psyduck. Thanks for ruining it.
That was the one.
That's about all I know.
I'll give you a hint. Why do you think Detective Pikachu talks?
Is
the
he
other Pokemon.
Professor Oak?
He is not Professor Oak.
I'll give you this. Professor Oak wasn't even in. I saw one Oak reference, and it was on a sign.
Why do you think... All right. So, the story's about Tim, who's played by Justice Smith, and his dad has gone missing. In the movie, you don't see his dad at all.
Oh, you do?
Pikachu, well...
You see his dad from the back.
Detective Pikachu is voiced by Ryan Reynolds, and no other Pokemon can talk.
And who did a phenomenal job, by the way.
What was that, Kaley?
So is that his dad?
She did it, dude.
She got it.
Easy.
Okay, so now do we discover why his dad is Pikachu?
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a whole
All right.
thing.
Let's spoil it, boys. Let's talk about how
All right.
great it was.
So,
I was just going to say, for me personally, I grew up playing Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon, mainly Gen 3, and I felt like this movie was pretty great with how they stuck to the lore of the games and the movies that came before it. It takes place 20 years after the first movie, if I'm not mistaken, if that's what they said. Because, spoiler alert, Mewtwo's in the movie, and he's a big plot device in this movie. And I really like how they used him in the movie. And of course, overall,
A little bit.
it was a kids movie. There was a lot of kids themes. They had to bash in your head on what this plot is actually about and how it's going on over and over again.
Made a cocaine joke.
But there was some very dark stuff in it,
they said hell.
like cocaine jokes, and the whole movie's centered around drugs. These drugs that make Pokemon go insane. But I mean,
like Blow.
yeah,
You guys
honestly.
had it. Remember the 80s?
So to me, coming as a Pokemon fan, I thought it was pretty great.
I was
the
just
best video game
disappointed.
movie I've seen.
It's definitely the best video game movie I've seen, but I was disappointed with, like, they did so much, but they still could have done so much more with, like, I feel like, you know, me being biased, that I think Jigglypuff could have had a much bigger scene than just that little glimpse. But
I mean, she should have been.
I was confused as to why. I mean, I really wanted to see the plot twist at the end not only be with Ryan Reynolds actually being like his dad stuck in Pikachu's body, but I wanted to see Mew, not just Mewtwo. I wanted to see Mew to come out. The fact that Mewtwo was like such a major character in this movie, just going back from the Pokemon movie in the past, how iconic the Mew and Mewtwo relationship is. I felt like that would have been a huge thing because like how they defeat Mewtwo when it was the guy, I forget the guy's name.
Bill Nighy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's
His
in
character.
Mewtwo's body, I felt like I was hoping there would have been nothing but adversity towards them, and then they have access to the only way to defeat him is getting into Mew's body. But I still appreciate the movie. I just would have done some certain things differently and added a little more Pokemon and just maybe get Jigglypuff to start drawing on people's faces. That's all I'm saying.
I was very disappointed that there was no Slowpoke at all, not even a Slowking, nothing.
Oh wow!
You know, that alone, you know, makes the movie just down to an 8 max. It can't go any higher. But yeah, I mean, as I said, like from someone who didn't follow Pokemon that closely, just know like basic stuff. I enjoyed it, had a good time.
Also, the scene where they're running through the woods, like, that part bothered me a little bit because there was just parts that it was so graphically fantastic. That scene just did not look good.
Yeah.
There were just like a lot of visual
Pokemon
issues
just
on
look
that scene.
weird, yeah.
But the
I like
Bulbasaur
Ditto.
scene I really liked.
I like Ditto more than a lot of stuff.
Ditto.
I like his voice. Ditto.
It's great.
I love their voices.
It's great
So I
just
give
to
that movie
see.
probably like a 7.5.
I just think it's great to see how good the CGI is in general for a movie like this, you know, coming all this way. And
Right.
believable Pokemon to be in a believable movie was just wild to see.
Yeah. I hope, like, personally, I didn't really want Ryan Reynolds to be his dad. Like, it made sense once I thought about it, but I wanted to believe that if you have that smelling stuff, you can hear them, but then I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because you can't hear any other Pokemon. So I just wanted his dad to be someone else, and I wanted Ryan Reynolds to keep talking as Pikachu, because then Pikachu's just a normal. You can't hear him after that. He's just Pikachu.
That leads me to my next question, though. Do you want to see either another Detective Pikachu 2, or do you want to see another spin-off movie?
I want to see Smash Brothers the movie. Boom.
Wow.
I said it.
I'm absolutely terrified for that.
Giant
'Cause
hands.
that's just...
Yeah, I just want Master Hand coming in.
Detective Pikachu was a fun movie. It was
Fondling.
nothing like crazy special, but I do see that. I mean, I wouldn't mind as long as it's the same people that did this one. I wouldn't mind seeing a second one just to see what they would do because I want to see a Mew. That was probably something I was hoping that Mew was going to be the thing that because I saw pretty much every Pokemon I saw in this movie. I saw in the trailer. So I was hoping there would be some different ones, but
Yeah, and I need some clarification on here. Okay, quick version. How does Pikachu, or well, the guy's dad become Pikachu?
Mewtwo.
So
Mewtwo
yeah,
can transfer souls into Pokemon, like
Human
human
dad,
souls.
yeah, his dad was like hurt, and then the Pikachu's like, "Hey, I love this guy. Let him," because he was Pikachu was his dad's
Was
partner.
his Pokemon?
So he's
Oh
like,
my
"Hey,
gosh.
come and let him go in my body because I'm a good guy. I'm
Hmm.
Pikachu."
They
So
can
then-
only do it
then
in a
this
crazy
leads
state.
This leads me to ask is, okay, if the sun can understand Pikachu and only Pikachu, how can Pikachu understand other Pokemon? Is it just like the dual like souls in Pikachu?
Yeah, like
Yes.
Pikachu could still understand the rest, but he like they could like Pokemon can understand humans. I guess I think
No, they can feel
They-
humans.
they can feel the emotions, but
Yes.
they could both hear each other because of that. There's like the purple gas in the movie that makes all the Pokemon crazy, but in doing so, Tim the son can hear Pikachu, which is also listen. This is nitpicking, but if he sounds just like his dad, I get it. It's been like years since he's seen his dad, but I mean, you know.
I was like, how do you? I thought we talked about that too after the movie. It's like, how do you
Yeah.
forget your dad's voice?
Listen,
Like, you
all
just
I
don't
wanted
remember it.
was the very end of this movie. King DDD walks out and he says, "So we're starting the Smash Brothers initiative."
So you were hoping like a
That's the start of the
Fury
like,
sort of thing.
yeah.
where they, like,
That's the Smash version of it.
Another disappointing thing before we change topics here that I just thought of. My bold prediction of the movie was not true, and really disappointing. I was hoping everybody was upset in the community that Danny DeVito was not Pikachu, and I said Danny DeVito was either going to be Raichu or Pichu, and he was not in the movie, and neither were either of those Pokemon.
What if he
so.
plays? Okay, here's my prediction for the next movie. Ryan Reynolds is in it. He's just playing as Harry Goodman, his dad. He's with his son, or you know what? His son's out of it. Boom! It's just Harry and his Pikachu. But this Pikachu, they just do it again, and it's Danny DeVito going in.
Because I was hoping,
Gosh.
like Pikachu or Raichu or Pichu would start talking to Detective Pikachu, Ryan Reynolds.
He goes, "Hey, it's me, Danny DeVito."
They would literally just be one scene of him joking about his voice, and that's it.
I sound like Phil from Hercules.
But we didn't get that. So I didn't get everything that I was hoping for in the movie, but I still enjoyed it and walked away happy.
I think we all kind of did.
Yeah, I mean it was good.
Yeah, it was my favorite movie ever.
But did we walk away happy from the season finale of Game of Thrones?
I don't know.
Whoa, what a
Nathan.
transition!
Let's find out what everyone thought. I feel like we should start off saying our feelings about the last episode, and then we'll just delve into the series as a whole. So, this last episode just aired, and personally, for me, coming off of season 8, which is by far have not been anywhere near my favorite season at all. I think they've made some pretty not so good decisions with the writing of the certain characters, but I feel like this episode gave me the satisfaction that I wanted out of this series, and I think it did a pretty good job on this last episode.
I haven't had that many. I mean, I'm not saying this season's been great by any means, but I haven't had as many complaints as a lot of people. I personally don't really have an issue with most of how anyone's character arcs went, but I do agree that if they added like 4 more episodes, it wouldn't have felt as rushed because you would have had the natural dialogue of them getting more, of an arc across instead of just like action. But I very much enjoyed this last episode. I'm not saying much, but I before the season started, on Reddit.com, you could vote on there. You can join r/, Jon wins the throne, Daenerys wins the throne, yada yada. And I sat there, I'm like, it's got to be Jon. And I'm about to click it, and I stopped, and I said, wait. The only person who makes sense here is Bran, because he's the smartest one of them all, and he probably doesn't want it. And I picked it. I've been in r/Bran wins the throne since day one. Me and my brothers and sisters in there, we are sleeping happy tonight. Spoilers. And yeah, I was very happy with that season.
I personally, again, just like Matt, I think there were a lot of issues with this season. It was nowhere near being even close to one of the best ones. It was close to the bottom. But I think, I mean, again, I've just been very surprised to see that people hated it so much, and I think part of that is what I mentioned to you guys before the show, is that I think it's a little bit of, once they screwed up a lot of things at the beginning and the middle, the little things at the end, I think, made people even more mad. So, for example, the end of episode 5, Arya is just riding off on a horse, and that's supposed to be an iconic scene. And then the very beginning of episode 6, she's just not on a horse at all. And they just, like, totally threw that scene out the window. That was one of the weird ones that I thought. All of a sudden, there's tons and tons of Dothraki again. Not sure where they all came from. So that part's a little confusing. But overall, I mean, everything I pretty much expected to happen did happening. So this one was one of those episodes that I was just like, all right, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. So I thought Jon Snow or Arya were going to kill Daenerys after she just killed all those people. Expected all of that. Did not expect the dragon to set the Iron Throne on fire. Which
was an amazing scene.
I love that.
I thought that was a really cool scene, and then just felt like it definitely felt rushed when the scene that felt rushed the most of this was they went from that scene to being so iconic because everyone has been fighting for that throne for seasons and seasons, and the dragons finally just said no more, set it on fire.
Stop it!
And then the very next scene, all of a sudden everybody knows that Jon Snow killed her, but he was by himself, and he was the only one that was there was the dragon and Daenerys herself. So the dragon flew away. Right, what we're just supposed to, like, he just walked out and was like, hey, everybody, I killed. So then, like, all those people knew it.
He put his hands up and he said, she's my queen.
But they didn't, but that's what I'm saying. They could have showed all of that. They could have showed that.
Of course. I binged this right when season 8, episode 1 came on. I didn't watch any of it live with you guys until this time. And it was just super rushed and so different than the other seasons, the other 7 seasons, because I just watched them. This one, like, especially the last episode, I thought it was just okay. It was just okay. There was time jumps. There were things that weren't explained until 2 minutes past, like a black screen and a time jump. And it was just like, I didn't understand any of that part, but how Jon was just talking to Tyrion right before, he killed Daenerys, and he was saying that, love is the death of duty, and duty is the death of love.
That was great.
And so that is totally why it can make sense, and I wish it wouldn't have. But the fact that time jump and he's just in prison, he's their prisoner.
See, for me, that whole scene between Tyrion and Jon, that brought me back to old Game of Thrones. That the whole dialogue they had there was just phenomenal. And of course, it's coming right before Jon goes and kills Daenerys, and the last thing, Jon wasn't having it. Jon wasn't agreeing with Tyrion until Tyrion brought up, what about his sisters? Do you think they'll kneel? And I just thought it was that turning point that gave Jon, a look into how bad Daenerys has turned against not only like her people, but just against all of the realms, Of course, I mean, I feel like most of us have rooted for her since the beginning. And that's the only big thing I was disappointed in with her this season, was that it seemed like her turn was kind of rushed. That's why I wish the season would have had a couple more episodes to dive deeper into her going more.
Well, how mad she was about Missandei being murdered, first of all.
I get that was the tipping point for her, but she's already been through so much beforehand. And
like, for me... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, she's already been through so much throughout all these seasons, and I guess that's her tipping... I could see that being her tipping point, but it just happened so fast, and literally it just didn't... I didn't agree with it, and I feel like they should have fleshed that out a little bit more, and I feel like it would have been more of a payoff to see that turn happen over a couple more episodes.
For me,
you won't ever be able to convince me that the moment. I mean, I literally just felt the rush of the show when it was going from the Iron Throne being set on fire and Dragon flying away, and then all of a sudden they're all just talking about what to do with Jon because he killed Daenerys. It was like there was nothing at all in between. There was no arrest. There was no him admitting
I just
that
feel
he
like that's
did it.
supposed to
There
be
was nothing.
implied.
But
Well,
you
Ryan-
shouldn't have to imply. You don't have to rush.
Well, I don't.
I mean, what does that take? 10 minutes of the more of the
I just don't
episode?
know what it adds to the show for him to say, "I killed her."
No, the
He
arrest
literally
and
just
the
killed one of
anger.
the most important characters in the entire show.
But it's also the anger and the emotion behind that of all these people, these thousands of people are following her. Some of them, ended up following her out of fear during the dragon in episode 5. But it's just all the emotions that people would have had when they found out Jon
Yeah.
and the people who would have threatened him right away. I think that would have been really, really helpful for us.
It goes back to like when they showed when Jon Snow told Sansa and Arya who he really was, and they just let that be implied. They are just not showing the actual emotion of what the reaction is of something major in the story happening. They're just saying, "Oh, the viewer is going to imply of what they would feel like." Why can't we just see? It's not like you're not adding it or seeing what the characters react to after everything that they've just done. These are like major plot holes that should have been added into.
I mean, it's not a hole. It's just it's a
It's a time
dialogue
jump.
missing. It's something that it could have added more detail.
I just don't think there's any excuse for not adding something that's so important. Like if Jon was killing a side character, then I can understand the time jump and implying of what happened in
remember
between.
in season
But this is
whatever where-
Daenerys Targaryen that he just killed, like the most powerful woman in the show. If you argue with her and Cersei, but that she's like the one that everybody was rooting for, and this was the huge turnaround. And we're just getting a time jump just because we're trying to hurry up the season and make every episode an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, also thinking about that is something that did not make sense to me at all is when, going back to the Dothraki, when they were all just like there randomly, how the hell did they hear Daenerys as she's screaming at them on the top of this like giant stadium?
That's like the old Greek amphitheaters, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but there's horses and all these people.
I don't know.
And then also on that, this is what I laughed so hard when I saw this. Jon doesn't speak any other language. So he has no idea what she's saying to them.
Oh yeah.
That was the whole reasoning.
But then
behind
Tyrion was like, "Did she look like she was like calling for peace?"
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
I thought one
He
of
was
my
just there,
favorite
like,
scenes-
"I'm just here."
One of my
He was
favorite
like,
scenes
"What's
in the
happening?"
episode was Tyrion throwing the pin on the ground.
that was great.
Oh, that was great.
That was a really big scene.
I love
so.
Tyrion. I thought he was about to die right there.
Yeah, I was surprised
Oh,
she
okay.
didn't kill him.
Were you
Um,
surprised with the small council at the end?
I loved it.
Yeah, I guess we're getting into the latter half of the episode now.
Before we get there, like for me, going back to Daenerys attacking the city, like just in my personal feeling, like not always, but these last couple seasons, I've been feeling that she's like becoming this, darker character. This,
Oh, totally.
so to me, it wasn't like, I forgot your point exactly, Matt, but I was gonna say like it didn't bother me as much that she did it right then and there because I was like, yeah, that's supposed to happen. But yeah,
That's what I was
I get
saying. It was supposed to happen, and I know it was.
but you
supposed
wanted
to
more
happen.
like more.
But it just felt like the turn that she made at the end, where she decided to kill everybody, it wasn't as fleshed out as it should have been. And I feel like with a little bit more character ramifications of what happened in the previous episodes, seeing that over time would have had more of an effect. Because you would be going into that episode like, is she actually going to turn? Or is she going to stick true to her word and the promise that she gave Tyrion when the bells ring to call off the attack? I feel like it would have made a lot more suspenseful.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but just personally, I was just like, it didn't bother me that much because I'm just like, this is what I expect.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
really enjoy the first part of the episode though, where it's just pretty much Tyrion walking through all the ruins and rubble, and
Yeah.
and there was no music. By the way, the music in this episode was
Oh, I know.
it was the best it ever could have been. But there was nothing going on in the very first 5 minutes or so when he's just walking through the rubble, seeing people with their backs just torn off, knowing they're dead, and finally getting to his brother and his sister and in the rubble. And
The Rains
Oh.
Castamere played.
yeah,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I mean,
when he smashed that rock down on another rock, I thought he was bashing in Cersei's head, honestly.
I just think, I mean, for all that it's worth, that the past few seasons that Tyrion's gone through this character arc, and I may have not agreed with some of the decisions they made for him. I just think him as an actor and playing that role is just that was
Peter
the
Dinklage, oh, yeah.
defining scene for him, and I think he executed it very well.
And one thing that I just thought of as you were talking about that, when he gets to seeing his brother and sister in the rebel, and that everything is just, it hits him, that everything has just been ruined. This part where he gets to them, he has to climb over those rocks that he could fit in, because he was able to climb over those. That time jump, that's a good time jump. Like, we don't have to see him climb. Like, we get that part. But when we just saw the main character of the show die.
Hey, just remember,
There was
The show-
no emotion between.
the show
any
skipped the
character.
whole battle. Remember that early in the show? They skipped the whole battle.
It did.
When
Oh,
Tyrion got knocked off that horse or whatever happened.
I mean,
or
they
he got hit.
skipped a few
Oh my
battles.
gosh, I forgot about that.
They skipped. I mean, don't get me wrong. That shows. I
But I
want to
agree,
say
Daenerys' death is more important.
the show is not perfect. It's not. I
No,
don't think
but
there'll ever
it's-
be a perfect show, but the show's better than almost every show I've ever seen. And despite this last season being not the greatest, I'm
Well, that's
still going to
because-
go back through and watch this entire series because it is just so good.
And we're also going to overanalyze season 8 because it's the final one.
Like, people aren't going to be as mad that season. A lot of people complain about like season 2, I believe.
Mhm.
But
I don't know.
I don't think some people. I mean, I just don't think they're going to be as critical if it's the second season of a show compared to the final season.
Yeah.
I just think
So-
that you could just see it time and time again throughout season 8 more than any other season, that when it just felt rushed because of the time jumps that were unnecessary. That was my only concern with this season. So
Yeah. So, going back to Bran. Bran
boy.
the Broken.
Brand the Broken.
Bran the Broken.
Bran the
he gonna
wheelie
get, like,
wheelie,
a
let's
replacement
know.
Hodor now?
Is it going to be Drogon?
I
He said
did.
he's gonna go
Is
to
it
try
gonna
to
be
find
Drogon?
him.
That's
Yeah.
what I want to know, because that's what he's saying. But he just strolled up to that small council meeting at the end of the episode in his little wheelchair, and Sir Podrick, pushing him. But I'm like,
the rod.
Podrick's not
Oh,
like
that was a
super
really cool
strong. How is he going to carry Bran up and down all of these stairs?
They probably already built some wheelchair accessible
no,
stairs.
think back to
You
think
can
back
you
to
can
King
move a
Joffrey.
wheelchair up a ramp. I mean, or upstairs. It's really hard, but you can do it. It can happen.
But think back to King Joffrey. Like, Joffrey was so upset to walk up and down stairs. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well,
Do you remember
This is
that?
what Bran can do. Ready? He takes over Podrick. He wargs into Podrick, and then he uses all of his strength to get
Well,
up.
okay,
there.
we don't know who else he could warg into, because he only warged into Ravens and his direwolf and Hodor.
Very true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do really enjoy what they did with Bran, but I also really enjoyed what they did with Tyrion in the end as well, for him
Oh yeah.
being the hand. But all in all,
Again, yeah.
this
third
is pretty
time.
much just Tyrion being on the throne. He basically has the throne because Bran doesn't want any part of it. You know what I
He's
mean?
Well,
like,
neither
you're
does
gonna fix
Tyrion.
your problems. Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's making Tyrion be part of it.
So Tyrion.
Well, because Tyrion made Bran be king. I thought
Yeah.
it was perfect justice.
And Bran's like, you're making me be king. You're being my hand, and you're fixing all your issues.
And also, like, Tyrion, at the end of the day, he has some good advice. Like, yeah, he's made
Oh, yeah.
mistakes, but he says he's learned from them.
So is Bran, since he's a three-eyed raven, can he live for like 1,000 years? Is he going to be king for 1,000 years?
Yeah, they just have to grow a
don't
tree out
know.
in front for him.
Hey, you stay in here and just tell us.
Dude, we'll find out in 10 years, right?
That's what we'll see. I was going to bring that up later. Do you think there's going to be, in 10 years, a sequel series to this series? But we'll get to that eventually. I just, we have a few more things to go over in this episode. Like the ending with, what do y'all think of Arya and Sansa?
Arya goes to America.
Pretty much.
Okay, this is also always Bran with me. Arya standing there talking to Jon like, "What's Westeros? Nobody knows." And Bran's right there. He knows literally everything,
Well,
and he doesn't tell her.
well, no, he doesn't know that much.
He knows
Unless
He knows
ever
Westeros. No, he knows Westeros in Essos.
Well, it's not defined what he knows because the
There it
three-eyed
is.
raven goes everywhere.
No, it's defined.
It's written.
It's written. It's a part of the show.
No, I'm sure Bran knows, and he's just like, go have fun.
Okay.
You'll be,
If-
because you remember he says stuff like, "You'll be where you're meant to be."
like Doctor Strange says, if I tell you, it won't happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like Bran just doesn't tell her, but I'm 100% certain.
A lot of people on
Bran-
Twitter were saying Bran was scheming this whole time to get the throne. Do you guys believe the
Bran
theory?
doesn't know the future, though. That's the thing. He
'Cause
only
Bran-
knows the past and the present.
It's true, but Bran
Of Westeros.
But Bran's also smart, and he can go, hey, if I tell Jon that he's a Targaryen, then there's going to be infighting between them. They're gonna nix each other out of the way, and then boom, this throne's mine.
Yeah, he's just the whole time during the war with the Night King and all the undead.
The only person
he's
that
just
wins the
sitting in
Game of
throne.
Thrones is the one that didn't even play it.
Yeah, I'm really
that's
happy
great,
to
right?
see what they.
It wasn't mine. I found it on Twitter. I won't take credit for it. Sorry.
I'm happy what they did with him though, and how.
What do you,
Matt was so critical of Bran this whole season. He's like, what has he done? I'm like,
he hasn't done anything.
what can he do? He's sitting in a chair.
That's why I'm glad they brought him
Wording.
around to be the king, and he knew he was going to eventually become the king. I'm glad they did that and paid him off in such a manner.
Let's not forget history now that Samuel Tarly recommended democracy before it was even a thing.
And it was laughed at. I loved it.
So that was a really funny scene too.
Do you think they'll make a
So-
new throne?
No.
You don't think there's going to be a new
You know
throne?
what?
no,
That's-
Bran's
that-
throne will be his chair.
That's what I liked is, Daenerys in her campaign wanted to break the wheel. Kind of, I mean, it's not like democracy where people are going to vote for who's the king or queen, but in a way she did break it where it's not a lineage of family that's going to keep ruling the throne. It's going to be elected by the higher ups. So, she still accomplished her goal. It's just not with her own. And, all right, here's an out there theory, and it kind of makes sense. All right, so apparently it's not. I don't think it's in the show, but everyone's saying it's in the show where Cersei is told she's going to be killed by her younger brother. Did it happen basically? Because Tyrion released Jaime to go get Cersei, and in doing so, they both died.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the prophecy. It said she's strangled by her younger brother.
Well, strangled by the
And,
rocks
and
that
Tyrion
fell
was a
upon
hand.
her.
Tyrion was the hand. Strangled.
Tyrion was a hand. Boom.
Got it.
The prophecy is
words.
complete. Yeah, those genies, they always use play on words.
And Jamie's missing a hand. Boom.
Boom.
Oh.
He made up that hand. Wow. Look at us.
Which I wonder is Cersei or Jaime older?
I think someone or it
Jaime's
was said
young.
or someone read it in the book or something. Yeah, Cersei's like a couple minutes older.
Alright. I'm not surprised that Jaime left and went back to Cersei.
Oh yeah, I had no problems with Jaime. Like
What was that, Nathan?
I don't know.
to me, Jaime has always been this tragic character who, no matter how hard he tried throughout the show, could not, give up this love for his sister.
This is
See,
worthless.
but that was my problem because you see him give up his love for his sister, and he's
Right, but
done
that
it
doesn't mean that's it.
He
multiple
didn't give it up.
times.
He just wanted someone else for a night.
Like,
He got
He's
he got a hall-
constantly changed his.
He got a hall pass.
He got a hall
loyalties. Oh,
Great movie, by the way.
No, I wasn't surprised at Jaime at all because deep down he always went back for her, always for Cersei no matter what. And so I think the fact that he left to go to Winterfell and then come back was so true to his character.
Yeah, I think it. I didn't have an issue with that at all. I thought both
Really?
of them together are just this like tragic romance that can't happen,
Shit couple.
and it ends up in them, dying together.
Barely any love for Tormund. I mean,
Dude,
he
he's
was
fine.
just
He's got the North.
Oh yeah, I'm glad they gave Ghost the pets that we deserved
Oh,
this whole
yes.
season.
Everyone freaked out, and probably the guy that made the CGI people were like, "Calm down, people. Give me 2 episodes." Jesus,
Well, they were going
freaking out.
they were going
Jeez.
so fast through the season. They should. I don't know, man. They should have gave Ghost some more pets. He just deserves all the pets.
We don't need a time jump for Go.
Yeah,
Ghost
we
got
don't need that.
Ghost got hurt. He fought hardest.
Yeah, he had a missing ear. That was
He's a good boy.
he was a
So
good
what
one.
do we think about Grey Worm?
I thought it was fine. Like at first, I was like, me and some other friends of ours wanted to. They wanted John or someone to fight him, but I just felt like at some point he just realized that his love for Missandei was more important than all this stupid, diplomacy and justice and stuff. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to protect her people.
So my
she-
question with that is, Missandei, she comes from
No.
The island of Noth.
Noth.
And that's
That's
why
where
it's
they
so
went.
sweet Grey Worm's going there.
Yes, but the people from that island have so behind the scenes of that island, there's butterflies that are there that they have an immunity to, and people from the outside who go there catch this like disease from these butterflies, and their skin starts peeling off.
Well, they're about to die then.
So,
Looks like we're about to have
What?
the next dead army in
Yep.
10 years.
so that's
The Unsullied, more like the Undead Sullied.
I
Got 'em.
don't remember if they
Up top.
brought that up in the books or if they brought that up in the series, but
Did you
it
read
is
the books?
it's definitely there. No, I did not. I've listened to the first one, most of it, but that's what that's a little fun fact if you did not know that. So we'll see how that plays out in 10 years
Yeah,
when
the
they
only
come
thing I
back to
know
the sequel
about
series,
the island of Nath is they don't have marriage.
and they have a
Remember,
bunch
she
of
was
slaves.
Like, bastard doesn't exist.
Yeah, from what I'm reading, I think it's only in the books.
So, before we get to do you think it's going to happen in 10 years? What about John? How do we think?
like
I
it.
thought he's such a wildling at heart, man.
I
Yeah, I
think
feel like.
I
There you go.
I think they should have ended it with the gates closing because that's how they
Oh.
started the series.
Yes.
But I guess they just continued on a little and just saw him go into the woods, which was
Hey,
nice.
that's still also like the first big scene was the deserters in the woods.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of another thing.
The opening to the whole series is the
Right.
gates opening.
But then they were in the woods and got found by the White Walker.
Yeah, so that's what I wish they would have done, like some cheesy
Yeah, that would've-
poetic thing where the end of the series is just
Like
the
the
gates
Godfather.
closing. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I liked his ending. I mean, I feel like I thought he was gonna stay. Like when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, he's still with the Watch. He's just like leading those people back and then going back. But I'm like, I guess it doesn't make. I mean, it makes sense still, but with the door closing, it just seems like a symbol. Like he's staying with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. He's. It just feels like that's where he's meant to be. And I liked someone else brought this up. I don't have a lot of original information. I just steal from other people. Someone brought up, you know what? Ned made the biggest sacrifice, ended up dying to do the right thing. John did the right thing, and he gets, he made the big sacrifice to be exiled. What a good guy.
There's always sacrifice in the show. So
I
do you think it's
I
gonna
want to talk.
go ahead?
No, I was just going to talk about Sansa. You can keep going.
Oh no, we can get to we can talk about her real quick. She's go ahead.
I was just I pretty much hated Sansa the entire time. She's just like so difficult to everything I thought, and then at the end is when I finally was like, oh okay, like you're decent. Yeah, pretty much. But if you think back to season 1 when she's in Winterfell, all she wants to do is get married. She just wants to get married. She wants to marry a king and she wants to be a queen. And then she overcame so much that she, like, her character development into she is a queen by herself, like it is an independent woman. And I think that was so empowering.
She does
And
not
that's
need
why
no man.
I loved that with everybody listening that Kaley was actually catching up right at she was on the beginning of season 8 when right after episode 5 when Daenerys killed all of those people. And one of the texts Kaley actually sent to me is, I hate Sansa. I wish she would just listen to Daenerys because Daenerys wants to do what's better for the people.
Oh,
And I was like, gosh, that is only if she knew.
that was like you, Nathan. See, Nathan was catching up, as he said last time, that 2 weeks he caught up. He was talking about how Marcella was, when they found out that it was Jaime's daughter and stuff, and he was taking her back, but she was at the moment being poisoned. And Nathan's like, wow, it's going to be so awkward when they get back. And they messaged me like 2 minutes later, like, oh my gosh, she's dead. That was a great moment.
But, that text when she said, I wish she would just listen to... Oof.
Did you see that and look up and just see her burning the city?
Yeah, I was really watching it. I was like...
You're just like, huh.
I know, that's when Nathan says, delete social media now.
As soon as she said that, so I was like, you need to delete it.
Okay, what about, I just want to know, where the hell is Hot Pie?
He's baking goods.
He's still baking goods.
And
He's
in real
"Screw
life.
this, I'm just going to make
Not anymore.
dessert."
His story.
I
went
wanted
under.
to know where Hot Pie was, Dario Naharis, back in Marine, just gone, left. Does he even know where Daenerys
friend
is?
zone now, so he's
I know.
alright.
He's like, damn.
Well, his girl is dead. And then
Basically,
Gilly and the
time's up,
baby,
so
like,
find out
I just
something.
want to know about the small stories and the small characters we all love.
Yeah, no one cares about them.
That's when you get your.
I literally do.
Here's my
Popeye
prediction.
is making the best bread in all the lands.
Here's my prediction. They're gonna do a sequel series or a prequel series, which they already have announced with like actors and stuff already casted. At the first episode, it's gonna take place in the future, and you're gonna see some of these little things that you're talking about. It's gonna give you like an update on how the
Okay.
kingdom's going, and it's gonna be like Samwell, like, let me tell you about the past, and then it goes into that show. That's my prediction.
Samuel's going to be the narrator of the show.
Hello, it's me, Samwell. Let me tell you.
Did y'all
my
think?
God.
I love that he's the Grandmaster.
Did y'all think that was a little cheesy when you
That
brought
he
the
was a
book?
Grandmaster?
No, when
it's
he
like,
brought
it's
the
called A
book,
Song of
yeah,
Ice and
it's
Fire.
called A Song of Ice and
I
Fire.
didn't. It didn't.
I was like, and
I was
also,
waiting for them to look at the camera and wink after he did
I
that.
didn't.
Like The Office.
I didn't like how they didn't include Tyrion at all in, I guess, that book. They
No,
said
I didn't understand why not. Because
that he has
was
been
the hand to 3
exactly.
conquerors.
He's pivotal in this whole story, and they kind of wrote it off as a joke, where haha, he's not included all in the book. So I was like, I didn't like that, but
Dude, he's gonna make changes to it. He's the hand.
So,
But
A
he
question-
also learned. Sorry, Nate. He also learned how to work behind the scenes. Remember, he used to have this whole big thing of like, I'm just the imp. I'm just the imp. Like nobody. I'm not important. And then he like started to love himself. And so the fact that he's not in the book, yeah, that sucks. But also, he still knows how important he is. So there's that too.
so I guess besides just a question, I'm curious of what your answer would be. I guess besides Daenerys now as being one of the most evil characters in the show, who would, since there was so much disappointment around the Night King, who would your second, like, biggest antagonist be? Like, for me personally, it would be Ramsay. Just because Ramsay
He was a bad boy.
he did not care if you were blood related, loyal to him, not loyal to him, male, female, young, old. He killed anyway.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what made the greatest episode in this whole series, the Battle for the Bastards.
So I was just, for me, it's Ramsay, because I think Ramsay still was more dangerous in the end. Like, looking back on all the episodes, was just more dangerous than the Night King.
Yeah, well, you know who it is?
He was on screen, 100%.
It's Varys.
Varys.
It's Lord Baelish. Just kidding.
No,
Gotcha.
it would be Lord. Lord Baelish was just such a interesting character.
I thought he was going to come back. I read a theory about it because he had one of the iron coins. I thought he was going to use it, and that's like he didn't
Or
actually
he
die
was-
there.
He knew how to be no one. My
Like
theory?
Varys.
Okay, speaking of that,
He
no,
probably
this
still could be. We just didn't see it. He died.
This is what really, really bothered me. is all of season 7, well, 6 or 7. Arya learns how to be no one, and then season 8, she's just like, "Nah, man, I can like twist I can like flip a sword
she
really
never really
fast."
used
That's
that
about
at
it.
all.
She didn't use it, and that's the thing. I wanted her to kill Daenerys, and if Jon would have died, killed Daenerys as Jon, like using his face.
I get it. Like, I feel like they could have used it once, but like if they used it a lot, then it would have been like overdone.
No, but she didn't use it once. in
Right,
season
I
She-
agree.
she
They should
did.
have used it. At
She
a
used
time.
it on the phrase.
No, I mean like in this season, like,
No,
or, like, killing one of
it-
these people.
Well, here's the thing. Throughout this whole series, that was a plot point that didn't get brought back up. I feel like the whole thing behind Jon being a Targaryen, it just didn't amount to anything in the end. I guess.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it just, well, to me, all it did. I mean, now seeing it all, to me, it answers a question of like who he truly is, like who's his mom. It wasn't like, oh, he has to be on the throne. It's more of like now he has closure of who he actually is. That's what I saw there.
But then he just goes right back to the black.
Yeah, but that's where he's meant to be. That's where he's fit.
Yeah, well, remember they all sat down and they said, the lords and ladies are going to vote to choose someone, so it doesn't matter like who your parents are, who you're born into.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't get brought back up at all during that whole meeting.
Oh,
either.
I think he's trying to hide it. I think he wants
Well,
to be
they all
Jon
know
Snow.
though. Everyone knows.
Well, no, I mean, technically, but not really.
I just think. I mean,
Varys sent out the scrolls, and then Sansa and Arya already knew. Tyrion knew.
I guess they didn't. I mean, I
That's
I
what I'm
guess
saying. I'm
Tyrion
saying
just-
Tyrion
There's-
wanted Bran, I don't know.
there's definite plot points in this show that got brought up throughout this whole series and didn't get executed well, which didn't make it a perfect series in my eyes. But those were just some of the few flaws I
To me, I just saw
had.
Bran as the more. I mean, obviously I voted for him, but I saw Bran as the more qualified for it.
No, I agree. I agree. I wouldn't want
I
Jon
didn't
for the
want
throne.
Jon couldn't have just sat there and been king. He's a wildling at heart.
It would have been weird, like if they sat there at that meeting and they're all like, "We want Jon," and it's just like he's in prison. It's like, well, now you're king. I don't know. That would have felt weird to me.
But
Well, if they would have said the king has to decide what happens to Jon, they're all like, "Well, we want
Well,
Jon.
John's
to
the
be
king.
Jon decide what happens to
He's
Jon."
like, I'm gonna kill myself.
so overall, what did you guys think of the series as we're wrapping this up?
I loved it. I mean, I caught up. I watched the whole first 7 seasons in like a month last year, and obviously the season it wasn't as great as the others, but to me personally, it didn't hurt me that much. So I love the show.
I mean, I really like the show too. I just don't think they put a lot of time into season. I mean, for it to be gone for 2 years and this is what they put out for season 8 is really disappointing. But overall, I still loved the show, and I was able to watch the entire series, or I should say 7.5 of the 8 seasons in a week and a half. So I'm very proud of my hard work of dedicating my time
Pat
to
yourself.
watch all that show, and it was a hell of a grind, and it was totally worth it, even though I would have done things differently.
I really loved Game of Thrones. I watched it twice all the way through. Well, season 8 only once. Season 8, I know. Season 8 was just disappointing to me, and I think it is because I know there won't be any more to add on to the same storyline.
Or will there?
Well, at
10
this
years.
moment in time.
Money
In
talks.
10 years we'll find out. But season 8 was just okay for me. I was a little disappointed. It makes sense now that I did more research behind things, but I just love Game of Thrones. I love everything about it.
What about you, Matt Willard?
Overall, this is, I think, tied with one of my favorite shows of all time. This
Which is?
Breaking Bad,
Hmm.
and I
I've
think
heard that from a couple people.
Breaking Bad ended their series a lot better than Game of Thrones did, but obviously they're two completely different shows with completely different times and all that. But it's definitely not just because of this last season being a disappointment, mostly in my eyes. I still don't let that fault the entire series as a whole. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if I ever have kids, I'm sitting them down, I'm showing them the whole series.
You better be a little bit old.
I was going to say, at what age?
I was going to say, if
Right
I
out of the
do,
womb.
I will 100% show this over Lost to them. And
As your woman is giving birth, you just have it playing on a TV screen in the.
Or while the kid's in the womb, you can play it because they can hear it and they'll just like digest it.
It's time to start
Trimester.
now. But
as the baby's coming, they just hear the theme song. It's the first thing they hear.
So, as we conclude this episode, what have y'all been watching? And do you have any recommendations? Right.
What have I been watching?
I have been watching the Handwives' Tale.
Handmaiden's Tale?
Handmaid's Tale?
No,
I heard-
What's the Handwives' Tale?
Call of the Midwives. Excuse me.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a BBC. It's on Netflix, and it is the most relaxing show.
I've never heard of it.
That's it.
That's a great description.
Well, okay. You know what a midwife is?
I know.
They in the olden days you'd call a midwife and they'd help you give birth in your home.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just
Been
like
there.
babies and
Totally relate.
Ryan, every Saturday night.
Just recently, I told the guys and Kaley that I was dedicated to watching movies on Netflix that I haven't seen that I really need to see, because I don't know when they're going to take them off Netflix, because Netflix is starting to get into the trend of taking some good stuff off of there. So two of those movies that I just recently watched, I watched The Matrix for the first time.
Congratulations.
Was able to get through that movie. I really liked it. I mean, it definitely was an older movie, but I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, and now I've experienced The Matrix, and I understand all the memes.
And you don't need to
also
watch
got
2 and 3. You're good with just The Matrix.
I hear everyone say 2 is like amazing, but 3, no.
Just
Well,
stick with The Matrix.
What is amazing is Kaylee recommended it, Matt recommended it. I watched Coco this week, guys.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful
Coco
movie.
cried.
Don't spoil it.
I really need Ryan to see that one, because Ryan, you would probably put that on your top 10.
I cried.
Coco is just a fantastic movie that has like a crazy good message, as well as a plot twist that I thought I saw and then I just totally didn't.
No one saw that.
So I was, my ankles were broken. So definitely recommend Coco. I would put it on my top 10 Disney films, and I'm going out on that one.
Go ahead.
You want to go? If we do this all the time, I'm just going to keep recommending it every week. Watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's the greatest film ever made. It has everything you want in it. It has action. It has romance. It has drama. It has horror. It has comedy. It has
Where do you watch
Harrison
it?
Ford. Where? It's on Netflix right
It's
now.
on Netflix.
Is it really
All-
right
It
now?
is.
four
All
of
of them.
Where have I been?
You mean wait. 4.
There's 4 of them. I mean, I don't recommend watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but you still can. It's not terrible.
It's not
Compared
terrible.
to some movies that make sequels and that are terrible, it's not terrible, but it's not nowhere near the original. But today I watched John Wick again, because we're catching my parents up to it, and we're going to try to see the third one in theaters. We're going to watch the second one tomorrow, hopefully. Great film.
Saw the first one, never saw the second one.
Yeah, still need.
Same
We're going to
here.
probably rent the second one.
Seen half of the first one.
Don't kill his dog.
Yeah, don't do it. Little Daisy.
As for me,
What have you been watching?
I was a little upset last night that Game of Thrones ended, and I saw a little show that was recommended, and it's called Barry, and it's on HBO. And I think I found my new HBO show I'm going to be watching for a while.
Oh, that's where he's
Bill Hader.
the assassin.
Yes, Bill
He wants to
Hader,
become an actor.
and he wants to become an actor.
I love that.
The first episode had me hooked. I thought I was just going to watch one episode last night. Decided to watch 3, just
How many
because
are in a season?
I think there's 8. There's 8 episodes in a season, and the season finale of season 2 just aired last night.
Oh, and also, before we go, another show that I would recommend that I've been watching. I am not all the way caught up, but it has a 75 in Rotten Tomatoes, but I think that doesn't do it justice. I'd probably give it an 85. Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone is very good.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a great job with the stories and all the twists in the Twilight Zone. He's doing a phenomenal job being the narrator. So highly recommend that one. Even though I'm not all the way caught up, I've still got like 3 more to go.
Yeah, I just finished The Act last night, if you guys have seen that.
I have not.
I've heard of it.
The Act, it's about the Blanchard case, the murder case.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, haven't seen it.
That was really good.
All right. Well,
Hey, before we go,
okay.
I don't have a problem with Robert Pattinson being Batman. All I'm saying.
Let's get into that next week. But
Okay.
for this week,
Let me give you a tease.
For this week, thank you everybody for joining us, and go watch all these movies and films and all these TV shows, and they're all pretty amazing. So we will catch y'all next week.
Bye-bye! Bye.